Elissa, good morning and happy Monday. How are you
I
doing?
am very well, thanks, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing great. We're it's we're recording this in mid-March and it's been a crazy month here so far. We've had springtime days, we've had snow, and today we're having like a monsoon with high winds and all of that kind of stuff. So it's been quite exciting from a weather standpoint, but
Wow.
otherwise business is good. Yeah.
Yeah, and as a former weather girl, I love to talk about this stuff. What would I do if I were a weather reporter right now? This is like insane, and I think it reflects what's happening in the world right now.
So Alyssa, yeah, you and I have known each other a while, but never really knew about your, broadcast career and everything. So that's new to me. I didn't know you were a weather girl.
Yes, yeah, I'm full of surprises. Yeah, I started my career in broadcasting. I actually had about a 20-year career in broadcasting before I got into leadership communications. Who knew?
Yeah, I knew you were in broadcasting too. Yeah,
Yeah,
but never that I didn't know about the different roles.
yeah.
But let's not talk about that yet because let's wait till like have the real conversation when. Okay, all right, good. So Alyssa, I so appreciate you coming on today, and we don't know, true to the name of the show, where the conversation is going to go because we haven't prepped or we haven't really discussed very much. So how about we get at it?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. I don't know where this conversation's going to go. So, everybody, I'm here with my friend and colleague, Elyssa Lansdell. And Alyssa, I think you and I probably met 4 or 5 years ago, virtually.
Yes.
Do you recall
Well,
how long it's
it's
been?
interesting because there's this strange chasm of time between 2020 and 2025, I guess. I actually left the
Mm-hmm.
Humphrey Group for a little while. So I'm not sure if I met you before or
Mm.
came when I came back because time is so stretchy. Let's just say it's been a while.
It's been a while,
Mhm.
but we actually met in person for the first time in 2025 when we co-facilitated a workshop, which I have to tell you, it was such a pleasure co-facilitating
Oh,
with you. It
ditto.
really was. Well, thank you. But you just have this, everybody, Alyssa's got this magic in the way she facilitates that. It's so true. I loved being I loved working on the program with you and prepping because you and I really, we got each other. We made each other feel heard with our different perspectives because we bring different perspectives.
Mhm.
But when we were in the room together, you have this ability to set the right tone and you pace, I mean, not only from the way you speak and the way you deliver, but the way you read the room, which I know is part of what you teach people to do. But the way you read the room and the way you adjust in the moment was just, I was in awe. I was just, it was great. So I
Thank
hope we get to do
you.
more of that
I
together.
really do as well, and I felt the same about you. And to your point, this is what I do, but there's more layers to what I do. And I will say, if there's a message or like one tagline for today is everything is energy. So when you say how
Yeah.
to read the room and how I kind of maneuver my way through and why we hit it off so well, how we managed to create a great experience for those people that day, that's energy. And that's what I geek
Yeah.
out on.
I do too. I do too. And that's one of the things I've been more vocal about lately in my journey when talking to people is I've always been good at feeling energy and reading energy and adapting in the moment. And in the past, my listeners will know this, in the past, I kind of pushed that away because that was touchy feely,
Yeah.
quote unquote soft stuff, which is such BS. I mean, I know now it's a talent. And one of my clients recently told me it was a gift. And I'm like, that feels so
It's
good
a gift.
because I'm able to do that. I'm sensitive to that. And everybody, I hope you'll feel more of this from talking with Alyssa as we move along, but don't discount that.
Mm.
Like that's it's real and it helps.
It's everything, Michael. And by
Mm.
the way, you are what I would call the divine masculine. We all have
Uh,
masculine and feminine in us. I will
mhm.
take you down my woo woo journey, and I
Do it. I
never
love
say.
it.
And the thing is, I want to maybe either reappropriate that term woo woo or just do away with it altogether. Because to your
Yeah.
point, we have been taught that certain things are soft or weak, when in fact it is our superpower. And I'm going to put my
Yeah.
tinfoil hat on through much of this podcast. I should have brought one. Just to say, the powers that be are the ones that benefit from us thinking that. And I believe that we are en masse waking up to our own power. And that's really at the heart of everything I do, whether that's walking into a room to facilitate a workshop or doing one-on-one coaching or, the keynote speaking, whatever it is that I do. It's really about like my whole ethos is just remind people, awaken them to their own power, help them remember their own power. And that's what you're experiencing. So when people say it's a gift, yeah, it's a gift that we all have. And most of us have been taught to ignore it or to think it's stupid or, that someone else knows better than we do. And they don't.
Right. Which is so silly because life is full of intangibles.
Yes.
Life is full of things that you can't put on paper with metrics and all of that. But that doesn't mean that those intangibles aren't real.
Exactly, like electricity.
And that they have value.
Like we would not be having, let's just talk about the basics. You can't see it, but it's there. Right? And when it's not there. Yeah, I camped before. I know the difference. So yes, you're so right. And we are waking up to that.
Yeah. And you suffer without it, even though it's intangible. That's the thing. And that's where, I complimented you on reading the room and you complimented me back as well with that. But one of the things that I see with so many people in my work and even in my personal life is that some people are just better at doing that than others. It's a skill you can learn. It's something you can work toward. Absolutely. But there's that element of, I don't know if it's presence combined with being open to energy. Like even people, let's do a challenge for those listeners who are out there. Okay. Even if you don't think you're great at feeling energy and using it to your advantage and everything, just think about the last time you walked into a room and you could feel the mood.
Yeah, that is one of those things that I often say in a boardroom, in a workshop. Remember the last time you walked into a room and you could cut the tension with a knife. And every single person in that room is like, yeah, from the most left brain, rational, logical person to the most spiritual holding their, crystals. Everybody, you're right. Everybody feels that. And I've got so many examples like that, but I think that what you said, you used the word and it's presence. It's that we need to be present, and we have been taught to be distracted, to distract ourselves, to with these magic rectangles, and we are just to be present is the biggest gift of all, right? And it's a challenge for me, someone with ADHD, someone with a million thoughts, and yet I have learned, and people told me, but I wasn't ready to hear until I was ready to hear that just being silent and listening to yourself, because your higher self is always talking to you. Just in those moments is when brilliance strikes, is when you tap into your own power. And again, this is something my ADHD brain wants to go in 100 different directions right now, because that's really what I've harnessed in the work that I'm doing right now. And it's so powerful.
So let's talk about that. Yeah. So you've been very active you've always been active on LinkedIn, but you've been more active lately that I've noticed. And I love what you're putting out there, by the way. Keep on going, because it's great stuff. It's great stuff. But tell us what's really lighting you up, or what you're feeling super passionate about as we sit here in March of 2026.
Yes, I am passionate about everything we just talked about. But I would say, as far as, I am building an empire. I will say this, and it is all around energetic leadership. And I don't believe that, it's about business leadership, and I don't believe it's about everything. I believe that the future belongs to those who bring their whole selves to work and their whole selves home. And it's not about the work-life balance. It's really about tapping into your own power. Emotional energy is something that I am so passionate about bringing to my work. I have. And so I'm glad that you say, keep going about LinkedIn. I will say, as someone who came out as an intuitive on TikTok, so lots of bunnies here today, bunny ears, I'm quoting for anybody listening. I came out as an intuitive on TikTok a year and a half ago because my guide sent me there. And I thought, are you crazy? This is the dancing musical app. But when I went there, I all of a sudden gained 44,000 followers by being me.
Wow.
By being me. By sharing my psychic downloads and all the things that I was afraid, even at that time when I started, I was afraid to bring it to LinkedIn. I was afraid to bring it to my corporate clients. I wanted to become palatable. And I will say, Michael, that through all this time, for the past 3 years, we can talk about that separately, but I have been awakening. So you can call it the divine awakening. My divine feminine is awakening. I am, and you can say it commensurates with menopause or post-menopause, who knows. But this whole process has been, in tandem. This awakening process was saying, I want to bring this to the world. And I would love to bring this to the corporate space and to people. But when I went on LinkedIn, it felt like I was screaming into the void. And that was the expression I used forever. And I still have to laugh how, you can, I don't even know how the impressions work. You get like 200 impressions, but not one like. And I used to stop posting, and I stopped. And then I thought, oh, hell, you know what? I am shining my light. And I'm so glad you saw it, and I'm so glad some people see it. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I aim for everybody.
No,
right?
Of course not.
And
That's
so,
okay.
and so those who are meant to work with me will. And since I have done that, because everything is energy, I have been working nonstop. I've had clients reaching out to me. I'm bringing this work to the world. I mean, I'm in the very beginning stages of this, but I want people to start tagging their emotions at work. I want people to start meetings in some form of meditation, or if you don't like that word because that's charged, in some silent reflection. Can you imagine if the business world worked this way? Like, I'm also trying to bring what I call the energetic audit into the world, which is I sit in a boardroom.
Okay.
I go into your meetings. I meet with you. I see what's going on. Because as you said yourself, you know when you walk in a room. But how many times can we as consultants actually walk into the room? We don't often. But when I have, and there's one story I can share in a moment, but when I have, it's shocking. Nobody's talking about it. People just ignore it. They say emotions don't belong at work. Guess what? They're there. Emotional energy is everywhere.
They're there.
And what we're doing is we're working from our frustration. We're working from our anger. We're working from our fear, most importantly. And we're not acknowledging it. And in doing so, it is becoming so toxic. And this is why people are burning out. People think, I'm just working too many hours. People are burnt out. That's data. That is your body telling you.
Right.
So again, I'm going in 100 different directions, but your body is, I have learned through my energy healing practice that I started during COVID, that your body is a wealth of information. Yes. Again, we are told, you have to seek a doctor for this, and doctors can be wonderful. Yes. But your body knows what it needs. Your body stores trauma. Your body stores fear. Your body knows when you walk in that room and you can cut the tension with your body telling you. Your body knows when you're making the wrong decision. Your body knows when you made the right decision. And so I want to bring somatic, energetic leadership to the world.
Elyssa, I could unpack so many things here, so I have to choose which way to go, because this is wonderful. No, I love it. I absolutely love it. So tell me what got you on this path to energy and allowing yourself to use your intuitive powers, and for you to come out to the world and say that this is something that I value and that I think important. Like, I'm sure it was a journey, but how did that all come about for you?
Well, I really do believe that it was my guides be guiding, because it was circumstances, just happenstance in a lot of cases. But when we say that, I think we all have to appreciate and credit ourselves for saying, well, I said yes to that weird thing that came up, And so I think a growth mindset was key. I think COVID was key. So a lot of people learned to learn to bake bread. And I ate a lot of bread during COVID, but what I did do, because what started it is a friend of mine said, I have an energy healer who in Alberta who does it virtually, and she can clear your heart wall. And I remember thinking, I don't even know what a heart wall is, but I know what a heart wall is. Like, I immediately just could put it together and say, oh yeah, that's like a protective barrier created by some kind of energy, right, that she can clear. Let me try it. Her name's Jocelyn Pettit, and I've still never met her to this day, but she became my, she did a couple sessions on me. I could feel this warmth in my chest. I could actually feel the energy moving. And it's something I believed in, but I didn't. And to this day, I still have a healthy skepticism about all of these things, right? I think in every business, in every realm, there are really great people, and Jocelyn's one of them. And there are people who don't do it so well.
Right.
And maybe there's frauds. I don't know. But I will say that, she did a beautiful job. And we were talking one day and I said, more people need to do this. And I've been on dating apps, and we need a dating app for people who've done this kind of emotional healing. And she said,
yeah,
let's
really,
do it.
right?
So we created it, but we didn't know a thing about creating an app. So it exists technically,
Yeah.
but and so we actually went into business together for a while. I've since just become, I'm now on the board of High Vibe is the name of the organization. And through that whole
Okay.
thing, I thought, well, I better learn how to practice this. And they were teaching it online. So I learned how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't believe in myself at first. And so this is really, this is simply using a form of applied kinesiology, muscle testing, which is how I tap into my body's knowledge. So you test strong for yes and weak for no. And you use that to go through a chart of 60 human emotions. And so I will actually, if you were my client, I would tap into your energy, and I can do that with your permission. And I don't even need you to be around. It's the most passive thing in the world.
Interesting.
I just did it for a bunch of rescue dogs last night. So you tap into the energy, you use muscle testing then to identify and locate what trapped emotional energy there is, and you can often find out at what age. So this is a wonderful adjunct to therapy too, because I've had clients who say, oh, I didn't even know. I forgot that thing happened at 7 years old. Can I take this to my therapist? Yes, you may. But what I'm doing is, again, passively, I'm swiping along my governing meridian, and I am releasing that trapped emotional energy. And I didn't believe it. Even though I'd experienced it as a client, until I did work on animals. And there is no placebo effect on animals. My parents' dog had a limp one day, and they were talking about surgery. They'd taken him to the vet. And I remember sitting here in my office, and he was in my backyard, and I was looking, and I thought, I wonder if I could tap into old Rambo's energy. Did a little work. A couple hours later, my mother called me in and said, you've got to come and see this. And I thought, oh no, what happened to Rambo? Rambo's running around. Rambo had no limp. I mean, I wouldn't believe it if I were listening to this. I would be very skeptical if I were watching this. But yes, I have helped pets, who are terrified of thunderstorms and fireworks, have no problem. I've had videos from the owners the next day.
Wow.
Just going like, here's my dog. Here's the fireworks. The dog's calm. What did you do?
That's amazing.
Everything is energy, Michael. Everything is energy. Yes. And so, I started studying emotions through that.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. See, and it's interesting because I love to hear all of this because, I believe many different things, and sometimes I don't know what I believe, and sometimes I do know what I believe, and that's all good. Yeah. But I'm open to everything. Sure. And I listened to your podcast many months ago, and I think it was your podcast, or maybe it was when we were together. I forget. But you talked about the, I'm going to get the words wrong, but I've done this, is where you ask a question and you lean.
Yes, the sway test.
What's that called?
The sway test.
The swing test.
The sway test. Like you're swaying forward or backwards.
Okay.
And that's a form of the muscle testing. It's just the gateway one that everybody has. Oh no, I can't say everybody has access to, because some people don't have, they can't stand or whatever, and I have other ways of doing it. There are many, many ways to muscle test, but so this was my gateway. It was emotion code, and I kind of kept that under wraps, and I didn't charge money for it. I did it for family and friends, and again, there was a fear and there was shame, which is so interesting because this is called the emotion code, I started studying emotions, and I came across, so all of this was the start of it. This was phase 1, doing the energy healing. Phase 2 was the breakup of a relationship in 2023. And it was only a 10-month relationship. Listen, I've had 2 marriages, and I had a podcast about that too, called the Feel Free Podcast. And so, yes, twice divorced. And I managed all of that in stride, but this relationship broke me. And I sat out on my front lawn the day after the breakup, and I said to myself, I'm going to cry, because emotions, right? Energy and motion.
Right.
This is going to mean something. I am going to make this mean something. I'm tired of not recognizing patterns. I'm tired of the same patterns. I had abandoned myself to an incredible degree. And so, but I didn't fully acknowledge that yet. I just journaled every single day. I was present every single day. And it was summertime, so I sat out and I did my journaling. And then I heard through friends that there was a woman who did past life regression. I thought, let me do this too. And her name was Adi Kanda. And she'd been doing this since the 90s. And she looked back into the past and helped me see a few things. She was a wonderful mentor through that process. And I did learn that indeed, self-abandonment was my core wound. That's what she calls your core wound. So it was really about saying, I will never say no to myself again. I will never put anyone's comfort above my own. And in the business world, we call this boundary setting. And in the real world, that's
Right.
what we
Right.
call it. So I started to kind of translate this a little bit in my workshops. I would do boundary workshops where I would call the please disease, right? Because this is a passion of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And so many women, all the way up to CEO, experience this, men too. But certainly many women experience this, and I wanted to help. But I also saw it as two channels, right? I'm doing the intuitive energy healing work, and I'm doing the leadership work. And
Right.
I only began to see the results in my business work when I came out as an intuitive.
Right.
Again, I speak different language, but it's all authentic. So when I talk about emotional intelligence and energetic leadership, that's what I'm talking about. I realized that through following the work of Dr. David Hawkins, another one that's been he's now long gone, but he's a mentor of mine because I've been reading his books. Power versus Force is one of my favorite. He talks about how he has this thing called the levels of consciousness map, and how when we are in fear, shame being the lowest vibrating emotion, we are in suffering and survival. And so we can only create and we can only succeed when we vibrate above a certain level. And that level is courage. And when I first saw this map, I thought, why hasn't the world been following this? This is so brilliant. Like, he's calibrated numbers from 20 at shame all the way up to like 700 pure consciousness, the Buddha, right?
Okay.
And we range all the time, but we all vibrate at a certain level. And this is what you're talking about with the tension in the room or the excitement in the room. If you walk into the Super Bowl, they're vibrating high generally, right? Unless the team that they won, the home team, loses. But, at concerts, we're vibrating high. There's a lot of high energy. In a place of shame, we are in suffering and survival. And I began to think, well, there's so much fear that I see. And I bet you do too when you walk into some organizations, right?
Sure.
And it wears many masks, right? Like fear of being replaced, fear of rejection, fear of,
imperfection or being judged, or some people have to hide certain parts of themselves at work. I mean, so much. There's so much.
Yes. And so if you're vibrating at fear, no wonder you're burnt out. You're trying to vibrate in creativity. You're trying to, in at least an acceptance mode, and you can't be because you're fearful. So my energy healing work can release some of that, but also it's just about looking at your patterns. It's pattern recognition, and it's being open, and it's dialing the ego down. They're all components, and it's been my journey, and I bring a lot of my clients through it, and they love it because it's so powerful. It's like this instant, within an hour, we can untangle something that would have taken 20 years of therapy to identify. So it's amazing. It's amazing stuff. Yeah.
I'm so glad that you've tapped into this, not only for yourself, but for the people you help, because what I'm feeling and hearing when I'm talking to you is like, this is all there anyway in a leader's leadership journey. And you and I, we coach and train on presence. We coach and train on presenting. I mean, we coach and train on a lot of the same themes, but you're putting words and examples to something that everybody's probably already feeling.
Yeah.
Which is what's really resonating with me from talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And is that how I've been seeing, I think it's leadership intelligence is a term that you've been using on your, is that kind of the culmination of all of this?
Exactly. I want to reunite people with their intuitive intelligence, their emotional intelligence, and even their artificial intelligence, because I've been doing a lot of work with AI as someone who was fearful, who lived in fear of AI before. I've developed a relationship with that. That may be another topic for another day. I don't know. But basically, it's like all of these intelligences are here. We have been taught to ignore them. We have been, again, tinfoil hat back in place. We've been fed terrible foods. We dull our senses with drugs and alcohol and food.
Right.
And I know this because I did the alcohol and the food. And so what I found was actually what interestingly happened is I developed an autoimmune disorder, and I had to release so much from my diet. And when I did, I found my channel, as it were, was clear. I actually was able to receive messages. I do get downloads from spirit or whatever you want to call it, from source or from higher self, or sometimes I'm not even sure, but I would wake up with what I call the voice of God in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Really interesting little snippets that didn't come from me. I started to identify that, like, oh, that's interesting.
Okay.
This is higher self stuff. And I wouldn't know it. And I wouldn't know what I'm supposed to do. And I wouldn't know to tap into my gut if I did not have to, of necessity, eliminate a lot of this stuff from my world, from my diet. It's been beautiful. I still don't know why I don't weigh 90 pounds, but whatever. One thing and one battle at a time, Michael. So yes, yeah.
I'm really curious. So what does that feel? And you might not have the words. I'm just curious, and I'm going to ask the question. It may be a stupid question, but what does that feel like to have a message from either a higher self or an energy, or because you said, I knew it wasn't from me. Like, can you help me understand what that might feel like, or what that looks like or sounds like?
Yeah, and I think for everybody it's different. And here's the thing. I don't profess to be the expert on clairvoyant things, and that's why I kept silent for so long. I've actually been following some amazing creators on TikTok who've been doing this for a while. I follow a medical intuitive in LA named Jennifer Lisa Vest. The Ethical Psychic is her and she taught me. She's become a bit of a mentor to me. So she can speak to all of this, the clairvoyance, clairaudience, all this. But I do know that we all receive it differently. For me, it is like a thought. So while I have indeed only in the last year had some visions when I'm in that state between sleeping and waking, it's mostly just thoughts that I can, now that I'm more clear and present, can identify as not mine. And so I'm actually going to take you back 25 years or more to exemplify the fact that we all have this. We all have this ability, and we've all experienced it. We just may not know it. And because I didn't realize what this was until many years later. But so this was 1999 or 2000. I was living and working in Ottawa, and my grandmother was very ill, and they said she didn't have much time left. And so I came back to Toronto, and we were at bedside vigils. She was a crusty old, God love Jessie. And she was not going up without a fight. And so they were trying to keep her comfortable. And my dad was her only child, and an interesting relationship there. So anyway, my parents had left. They'd gone for a coffee. I had gone to put the dogs out. I came back. I'm mid-20s. What do I know? Remember how we are in our mid-20s. Very self-absorbed and everything. But I walked into a room. I walked into her room, and it was like, she was staring right at me, which was interesting because she'd been kind of out of it for about a day. And the thought in my head was, she wants you to help her pass. She needs to pass now. You need to give her permission. I didn't question it. I thought it was my thought. I now know that was higher self or guides, whatever you want to call it, guardian angel. I call it my team usually. I'm like, team, this is what I need help with. So that
I like that.
You could call it a voice, but again, it was just a knowing. It was like, this is what you have to do. What 25-year-old knows to do that, right? My own father wouldn't have known.
Sure.
And often I've learned, and I knew instinctively, intuitively, that some people just don't want to pass around those closest to them. They don't. And I was close to her, but I mean, I wasn't her son. But so they had only gone for a coffee. I came, sat with her, stroked her hair, and said, "You've been running a marathon, Grandma. You can go. You can go." And just as I expected, I heard that last gasp. And I felt her leave her body. And I went to my parents when I knew that she was gone. And I went down the hall. They were at the nurse's station. I said, "I think she's gone." And my dad was like, "What?" And I said, it's exactly as it was supposed to be. Now, maybe she was speaking to me psychically. Yeah. Whatever that was, that's energy. That's not logical. That's not what I would have. I mean, the 25-year-old me would have walked in, sat there, maybe talked to Grandma, maybe gone to get my parents, maybe, I don't know, read a book. We didn't have cell phones back then, but
Right.
But I would not. So this is what I only came to realize a quarter century later, was that knowing. So it is that feeling. And when you are tapped into your body, you begin to read those thoughts, those feelings. You begin to register them. And when I hear from higher self now, I often get in the early morning hours just a lovely opening of the heart chakra. So it's kind of like a squeeze in my heart. It's a little akin to anxiety. So at first I had I was like, whoa, am I feeling anxiety here? There's no reason for me to be feeling anxiety. It's that squeeze of the heart. It's beautiful. It's lovely. And I can talk to them. I talk to them through muscle testing too. Is that a yes or a no? You play 20 questions.
Is that a yes or a no? Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So it's not, again, I'm not for everybody, but I'm really happy that I can talk about this now because I think more people have experienced this than we know. It's not something that the powers that be want us understanding too well, because once we are tapped into our own power, I mean, watch the movie Ants, you know. Once we're tapped into our power, amazing things can happen when we all know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing that story, because when you were sharing that, I was thinking to myself, like, I often have conversations with leaders about the power of your intuition.
Yes. Great.
And very often I'm speaking with pretty senior, if not all the way at the top folks. And I have to remind them of the value of their intuition, because sometimes a lot of them think, well, the intuition's not factual, it's not logical, but I maintain that your intuition is built on all of this experience and mistakes and failures and successes, and it's valid. And just because you can't benchmark it against necessarily some numbers in a spreadsheet or a study or whatever doesn't mean it doesn't deserve any credence.
Absolutely.
But I'm wondering, like, so that's how I've kind of talked about it, because I believe in my intuition. I'm a very empathetic person as well, but I've made gut decisions that everybody else have told me were huge mistakes, which ended up being the total right thing for me in the moment.
Of course it was.
So I guess what I'm going to ask you is, do you feel that, like, hearing that, but then also like that gut instinct, I guess what I'm hearing is sometimes that gut instinct may be informed by something like that, but maybe some people just don't even know that that's that kind of message. Am I making sense?
You are making
by
total
trying to
sense.
decipher this?
And this is something that, again, I've only come to know in the past few years. I may be a few steps ahead of you. I may be a couple of steps ahead of most people. Not much, not far. And it's been such a journey. And again, you have to be open to it. But what I will say is, yes, your body is telling you your truth. And yet, when you said that it's not measurable, actually, it is. The enteric nervous system will tell you. And again, I'm not a pro, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physician, I'm not a scientist. But I know that there is such a thing as the gut brain. And your enteric nervous system registers stuff that happens. So your gut brain, just as you alluded to, is clocking everything that happens. You know, this one thing looked dangerous, turned out to be dangerous. That's going in the gut. Your body remembers. There's a book called The Body Keeps the Score that is absolutely brilliant.
I read that.
Yeah, so you know, right? So yes, there is science behind this. That's the shocking thing to me. The more I uncover, the more I wonder how the hell we did not get taught this in school. But I know the answer. Again, tinfoil hat time. I believe that the systems of oppression do not want us to. I always like to say, who benefits from us not understanding the wisdom of our bodies? Who benefits from us not going with our gut? And to that end, I'll say, we all know when we didn't go with our gut. And I have the ultimate, I have the ultimate experience with that, which is like the second time I got married. I remember the night he proposed. My gut was screaming, Michael. It was screaming at me. I felt physically ill. I remember I remember accepting the proposal, telling myself I was happy, going into the bathroom, and I could not even meet my own eyes in the mirror at first. It was like I had to swallow down my knowing. I pushed it down and I pushed it down. And the next 5 years were, I mean, it all happens for us. I'll just put it that way. But, and I learned many, many lessons. And unfortunately, so did my daughter through all of this. But going back.
But on paper, logically,
it was all
the outside in at what everybody was looking at, it probably looked perfect.
Yeah, oh, sure. It was, exactly. Why wouldn't you? And we were like, high school buddies and everything else. What a lovely reunion story. But we know you all have a story of a time you didn't go with your gut. And it went terribly. I'm sure you have one too, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I have a couple.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then there's the time when you do go with your gut. I defy you, any of your listeners, to come to me and say, I went with my gut and it was terrible. I went with my gut and it was awful. Now, at first, in the immediate,
That's a good challenge.
Right? You might think it's terrible. Like, I think of when I left television the second time, it felt awful. It put me into a deep depression. But looking back, I realized it was, and not in a sprinkly fairy sunshine way, it was actually the absolute best decision I could have made in that moment. I did go with my gut. But it didn't look good for a few years.
No.
It did not look good.
No.
So you got to have faith, not blind faith, but faith that your gut will tell you. Your body is always giving you signs, right? The heart racing, the palpitations, it's all data. And this is the other thing. Like I want to bring this up because science and spirituality are actually very, very combined. Very, what's the word? They're intertwined. And they're you can overlay them, and they make perfect sense.
Huh.
Yeah. Now that I'm doing the energy work and the spiritual work, it's really fascinating.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not saying I'm the pro on it. I don't have all the language for it, but I've done a heck of a lot of reading, research, experiencing, and trying this with my clients, and it's just beautiful when I can sit in a one-on-one coaching session and say, because sometimes their guides will come and visit me. I didn't know that for the longest time, but I'll be in a coaching session and say, hold on. Like I had a woman last week who said, she actually booked me for emotion code, and so I said, great, but I feel like I have to do body code first. Something saying we have to do body code, which is your check, same kind of thing, but with body stuff. And I said, okay, your right hip, there's a trapped emotion stored in your right hip. And she goes, I just fell on my right hip in front of a bunch of people in front of an elevator the other day. It was horrible. It was so embarrassing. And I said, okay, interesting. And then I got it was almost like someone was nudging me going, ask her what she was doing when she fell. Ask her what she was doing. So I've learned to listen to the voice, right?
Listen.
And I said, I'm being asked to ask you what you were doing when you fell. And she said, she didn't even drop a beat. She said, I was carrying everything for everyone. And I said, hold on, stop. Are you speaking metaphorically? Are you speaking?
Yeah, that's a big message right there.
It was, because the universe, this is another thing I geek out on, Michael. The universe speaks in metaphor. So she says, no, I was carrying Timbits and I had coffees for everyone. And I said, but you came to me because you are, and she's like, carrying everything for everyone.
Wow.
And so she comes back to me time after time, and she never ceases to be amazed by the metaphorical, I call it symbolic intelligence of everything around us too. So it's not only what's in your body, but what's happening out there. The world will reflect the state you are in. The boardroom, everybody because energy is contagious, right? Will reflect the state you're in, and metaphorically too. If you end up like someone hits the brakes in front of you in your car, I often will be like, interesting. What's that reflecting to me? Not always, but most of the time, there's a message there for us. And we would be really wise to just be present and listen to it.
Be present and be open, right? I mean, that's what it's all about, 100%. Whether you go as deep as you go or not. Right. It's about be present, be open. And that's also a lot about how we also can have deeper, more real conversations with each other as humans, is to be present and open.
Exactly. And I just did a post on that the other day where it's kind of one of those things that you know, but you didn't really know. People are talking about presence all the time. It literally is about listening. And you can't listen unless you're present. It's right there in the word presence. You just simply have to tune in, tap in, just accept what is. And that's the other thing, like allow what is. All of our human suffering comes from resisting what is. I'm not saying be passive. I'm saying allow it, see it for the intelligence it is bringing to you. And you will not resist. Therefore, you will not be in pain. You will not suffer. It's all about us hanging on to what we think things should look like, how we think things should go. Don't should all over yourself, right? Yes, yes.
I know.
That's so powerful for clients too, right? When you tell them that, like, oh, you shouldn't because you're not. You shouldn't have because you didn't. That's it. So why didn't you? Let's look at the patterns. And again, pattern recognition has been so key to my work. As soon as something happens 2 or more times, it's gold. They may not think so. It's like, oh, this terrible thing happened. Right. Awesome. This is amazing. Let's decode it.
This is good. It's great. And they may not see it until you can reflect it back to them.
Yes. Right. And then we can look into what I call the internal architecture, which is what beliefs, because we all act on subconscious beliefs. What old operating system is running?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Alyssa. You and I always have such great conversations, but we've never gone here before. And I'm so glad that we did that today and that I got to record it, which is awesome. And we can share it with others. Oh, we are recording. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, man. So listen, we got to wrap up for this episode, but I want to ask you one last question.
Yes.
And it's a question I've been asking most of my guests in different ways. But what do you know now that you wish you knew then?
Oh, my God, there are so many, Michael. My goodness.
So many. Okay.
But that's okay. Give me one moment. I'm going to be present
Yeah,
and listen
take your
to my thoughts here.
Take your time.
And really, the one thing that I wish I had known then was that it's, I hate to say it's all good, but it is all good. That everything is okay. There is no should, that everything you are doing is part of your journey. And I've been doing a lot of this work with my previous selves, the inner child work, the inner young adult work, and that's essentially I just send love. Love and presence are very much intertwined for me, and I keep offering that person who used to live in shame and fear and doubt, self-doubt and lack of confidence, and say, you are enough. I suppose that's what it is. It's all good, and you are absolutely enough the way you are. And that goes for all of us. And we don't need to earn it. By virtue of existing, we are enough.
I love it. I think that's one of the reasons you and I are so good together in a room, just what you just said, because love and presence do go together. And I think we both really very much believe that.
I felt that in you from the minute I met you. Absolutely.
I felt that in you too, my friend.
Oh, thank you.
Well, listen, this is so lovely. I don't want the conversation to end, but I do want to give you 1 minute to just tell folks how they can get in touch with you, find out more about you, if they'd like to.
For sure. Well, they can find me on LinkedIn at Elyssa Lansdell. And it's funny, I'm in the middle of a rebrand right now, not only with my hair, but also with my work. So I am about to launch Signal & Co. So be on the watch for that. And right now you can find me at ElyssaLansdell.com, but there's going to be signalandco.co coming soon. And that is really the culmination of all of that work I've been doing. And I can't wait to launch it.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I'll make sure I put those links in the show notes.
Please
so
do.
People, if you missed those, you can just check out the show notes. They'll be right there.
Wonderful.
So, Elyssa, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much, Michael. It's been a blast.
Thanks for listening today. If you like the show, please rate it on your favorite podcast platform. To learn more about your host, that's me, Michael Piperno, please visit my website at michaelpiperno.com. That website's in the show notes. See you next time.